All right, welcome to another belated stream. Although this time I have a really good excuse for my tardiness. Went to a doctor's appointment, and I was supposed to get there by 11:40. It was for 12 o'clock. And I said before, usually I try to stream in the morning over here, and the only time I don't is if there's some kind of appointment or other thing in my schedule that prevents me from uh, doing it, in the sense that I'm less inclined to do it during the morning if there's like another thing I have to do in the morning as well, or in that same period of time. So that's the reason why this one is later than usual. I guess I shouldn't say later than usual because this is the what third instance where we had some tardiness. So I'm feeling very awful for not being there when I said I would be. I try to keep with my usual routine and be consistent, but sometimes it's just out of your power. So it's one of those things where I'm just trying to make sure that people are satisfied to some, as far as like timing is concerned. Whew. Originally, I was gonna write out this script for this video, but I didn't really. Cause I said before, a lot of times I'll get an idea and I'll get some basic goals of what I wanted to accomplish, what addressed in the script, and usually after getting those ideas, it's harder for me to just put it to paper. So I feel like I'm good at getting a synopsis of what I want to do, but the actual execution is harder to ensure. Yeah, it's not easy writing stuff. I'm not saying that to pretend I have some massive amount of talent, but yeah, I try. I try to. I make an effort. I know that at various points I've actually had a whole bunch of different like ideas for videos I want to make, and then I don't get around to it, and I feel kind of bad because I think, oh man, if I had made this, I would, this would be really cool or whatever. But usually it's a byproduct of circumstances, you know, things of that nature, just acting up. And I won't be surprised if our usual cast of characters don't make an appearance today because they have their set hours, and I respect that. I remember I had this one stream. I think it was when Morbius came out, and I was making this joke about all the people that watched my stuff. They went to go see that great film instead of attending my stream. And I remember, I think it was James or someone, but they wrote something to the effect of, "I can't attend every stream you do." It's like, no, it's fine if you can. It's just of all the movies to abandon me over. You would pick that one, even if they went to go see Avatar, a film I have no desire to watch ever. Um, I could still sway. Well, it's highest grossing movie of the year. Okay, whatever. So Avatar is such a phenomenon because I remember when it came out, I was 11, um, and I've never seen a movie that made so much money just get completely forgotten after it was released. I mean, I don't remember anyone at any school I went to, and I went to multiple of them, mentioning that film. And really, the only talk I heard of it between when it came out and when the sequel finally came out was just how long it was taking them to make a second one. It almost became this joke. It was like, oh yeah, we'll get Avatar 2 eventually, someday. I remember I used to think it was ridiculous to have to wait 4 years for a sequel to a movie, but in retrospect, 4 years looks pretty tame by comparison with the gap of the original Avatar film and the sequel. Yeah, it's and again, I know that there's a lot of stuff that goes into movie making, different scripts, actors that don't want to come back or do want to come back, or I understand that it's just 11 years for a second one. Not 11 years, 13 years. Excuse me. Are you optimistic about? Oh, that's been long gone. That's old. But yeah, I just think it's really crazy how like there are movies, for example, like Titanic. You know, I wasn't even alive when that was made when it came out, but people mentioned it. Avatar really was this thing that came out, and it seemed like the general consensus was that it was good. And there was talk of a sequel, which was just talk for a decade, and then suddenly a second one comes out. It's just it's weird. But I think a lot of those people that were saying it was going to flop and it wasn't going to do well are out of their minds too, because you really didn't even have. I mean, I guess you could say if something's like has passed its time, like there's no build up after 13 years of waiting for a sequel. But the other part of it is that there's also the build up of like the hype. Like, why did it take them? If it took them this many years, it must be good, right? So that was something else that kind of played into its favor. This like long absence and then this return and people rushing out to go view it. Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon to just kind of look at the length between sequels. Like I still can't believe that Top Gun came out in the 80s and it was this movie with this really good soundtrack. It seemed like there was a consensus that it was a good film. And then 30 plus years later they do a sequel to it where it defies critical reception. It does well with critics. It does well at the box office. One of the few movies this year that made $1 billion. And I was just sitting there scratching my head because I was like, what is all this fuss about? And like I said, at least with Avatar, okay, best selling film ever. But as far as I knew, Top Gun wasn't really like a movie I saw get referenced that much. And they do a sequel to it, and it just everybody likes it. So some of this stuff you just can't predict. This guy asked me when do I think Black Panther 3 will come out. I don't know. If there was a 4 year gap between the first and second one, I would say 4 years as well. Maybe I'm gonna go with three at least because they're talking about taking a break to go do other stuff. So it's probably gonna end up being more than two. I would rather it's not 4 years, but what can you do? It is kind of funny that Homecoming came out the year before Black Panther did, and then the year after Black Panther comes out, Far From Home comes out, and then 2 years later, No Way Home comes. So in that same period, you of like waiting 4 and 3 and 5 years for a sequel, you get a new film every 2 years with this other franchise. I just thought that was amusing. Yeah, That just shows you how Marvel is. They fast track things they think will work, and they did not expect the first film to make over 1 billion. This, I don't know. It's I guess it's harder for me to not get excited, but kind of be interested when you don't know what the direction the stuff is going in. Like they're talking about Kang and Ant-Man 3, and I'm just like, all right, whatever. Because outside of that one Loki episode, we really even haven't seen him in anything else. And all this stuff just feels like it's all over the place. Like I don't feel as if there's a connective tissue that is being extended throughout all this stuff. It just seems like it's random events happening. That's why I said Marvel is just kind of getting on my nerves. Even if they still put out some stuff that I like, I'm just kind of annoyed. And we don't even have to get started on DC. I feel so bad for Cavill. Like you got brought back after what 5 years of just nothing, and then you get this cameo in a movie that nobody goes to see, and then like you're thinking, okay, well, yeah, it sucks that that film didn't perform well, but at least people are going to, like be excited for me to have a second solo outing. And then they just pulled the rug from under him. Said, nope, we're rebooting, we're starting all over again. Ah, DC, DC, DC. I swear people are so aggravating. Oh, it's like these studios just they don't have any plan or I don't even know what you would call it. There's just a lot of weird stuff happening. Oh man, it's hard to be excited for the future of this stuff because what's happening now that I've started noticing is a lot of the franchises that they have are not being confirmed for sequels. Like we still don't know if we're going to get Doctor Strange 3. We still don't know if we're going to get like we know we're getting a sequel to No Way Home. We don't know. We really don't know anything about it or if it's even coming out anytime in the next couple of years or not. So there's just too much what's the good word to use, ambiguity, to like really be pumped. Like yeah, we just got Wakanda Forever next 2024 or 5. We're gonna get Black Panther 3. At this point, it just seems like there's a lot of random like studios are putting the movie out and they're not really telling you what the future of because all these studios want franchises, every last one of them. They all want to have some kind of continuous, ongoing thing that they can make money off of. Ugh. And I'm not against the principle of wanting some, like some continuous series, but the issue I have is they're not really doing anything as that currently has me excited. Like you look at Sony, you have the two Venom films, you have the Morbius. You're gonna get Craven this year. It's like, what is this building toward? What is because, like I said, after seeing Morbius, it's very apparent they're clearly not interested in making good standalone films by themselves. So if you're not doing that, What is your purpose? That was funny with Jared Leto talking about I think he wanted Morbius and Venom to meet, but because of how badly the movie performed, we don't know if they're even going to bring him back or anything. Yeah, he is cursed with those superhero roles. Like I enjoyed the Snyder cut, but seeing two seeing him as Joker was weird, especially after they got rid of the gold teeth one and gave him long hair. I didn't understand what that was. Oh, these films and their developers, they get weirder and weirder every year. It is kind of funny that every time I go to the comment section of one of these reviews, like just of any recent Marvel thing, it's always the same stuff. This movie is woke. It's SJW. God, rinse and repeat. It's funny they talk about the Marvel formula and how if you see one, they're all this. It's like, well, that's what these reviews are. They say the plot's contrived, boring. Pretty much the only thing you can count on them to like act decent towards are the actors. Um, but even then, it's like, yeah, I'm not joking. If you watch one review from these people of one of these, you can just take that, slap it on top of everything, and that'll be it. There is one reviewer that does that. That they actually did a review of what movie was that? Bullet Train. It's in my throat, and they were actually speaking positively of it. And it's funny because I had, I don't. I'm just gonna admit I don't go to the theater that much. Um, but I was watching some film channel and they mentioned Aaron Taylor Johnson, and they're like, "Oh, he was great in Bullet Train." I was like, "What was that?" So I went and looked it up and saw it, and I enjoyed it. It was you know, it had these assassins all on this train together, and I liked it because they all had decent chemistry and very specific character beats and interactions, and it's I always try to say that like, and I use this show a lot as an example of writing, but for me, the reason I really enjoyed, for example, the first season of Young Justice was because it had a lot of characters, but it had a small group of 6 or 7. It developed, it gave time to it, explored the backstories of, it showed you the different interactions they have with each other, and it really made me care more about the story than just, oh, there's this shadow organization and what are we going to do. So when you get to season 2 and you have that same plot being continued, but now you have loads and loads more characters that the series expects you to care about minus the actual development part, it just doesn't work for me. I remember somebody made a Simpsons video, and I don't remember who it was or even what the title of the video was, but they were trying to like explain why it wasn't good anymore. Which I mean, people have been saying that basically since it started. But I was watching the review and not review but the video, and somebody and the guy said that Simpsons has too many characters, and I was so confused. Like, and he explained it to his credit, but it still had me confused. Um, for the same reason I get confused when people say that something like Sonic, for example, has too many characters, where it's just like, okay, anytime you have a series that goes for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you're going to see more and more characters get introduced. That's just how it works. Um, but I guess where I try to make my distinction is if a story has a core focus, it can have as many characters as it wants, and I wouldn't be bothered by it because it still is developing the ones that actually matter to the narrative. It's really funny to think about how like you could say Marvel has had too many characters since it started, like since the '60s with but they all had their own book, so they all got developed. Mm. Problem is when you only have a slate of 3 movies a year, um, and a 2-hour runtime, it's harder to give people focus and develop, or give characters focus and development. Yeah, it's I don't know. Writing is interesting for a lot of reasons to me because of how different people can write and what kind of things they can come up with. But it also can be very challenging and um, hard when you're trying to, create a story or tell some tale. Oh, I have to make sure this thing isn't playing anything while I speak. Okay, good. Always have to make sure of that because you never know. I told this person on Discord, I was like, "Why didn't you say happy weekend?" I said, and they said it now after I said that. That's a little joke I have. I'm like, "Why didn't you say good morning? Why didn't you say da 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 da?" Doesn't actually offend me if they don't. It's just a nice little gag. Oh man, yeah. I'm supposed to be hearing back from this recruiter on Monday or Tuesday, and we'll go from there. I don't know. It's been such a slow time with employment. Like I apply to these different places, and you'll either hear nothing back, or again, it's a dead end interview, and I just get tired of it. Mm. That's why I said that like the job market is such a joke from the standpoint of you have these people who will want someone to work for them, and then they never. I think I mentioned before. I went to an interview either last year or the year before last year, where the person that was supposed to be interviewing me didn't even know. The company didn't tell them, and the other one wasn't even there when I showed up. So it's all kinds of levels of non-organized and backwards. I said, how hard is it to just shoot this person an email and say, look, you got a guy who's coming tomorrow. He's trying to, work for you, whatever. They didn't say any, and I believed them because, unless they were given some amazing acting performance, which I didn't think so. Oh yeah, now I remember. But it's a real shame that they're like this. Because like I said, they always talk about people don't want to work or whatever. Not true at all. You just have to actually give them an incentive and be receptive to their attempts to initiate. I guess you call it a working relationship, whatever way you want to refer to it. Oh man, I'm still wondering if our usual band of characters will make an appearance. I'm not gonna hold my breath because we know that people have other stuff they're doing. That's me dragging the charger along the thing over here. Plugging that thing in the wall. Yeah, because if people aren't gonna type anything, I don't need to read the chat. I remember this one person who were like, why don't you wear your glasses when you choose? Like, because it reflects off of the camera. I mean, it's really self-explanatory. People always want to know something. I don't know. It just seems like we're at a point where the film industry has become really oversaturated with wannabe franchises, and then the ones that actually are, you know, established don't seem to have any sense of direction. But even when I come on YouTube, like I'll go and watch someone's video, and I'm noticing more and more that you have people who they'll leave some comment, and then like in the comment section, like, did you even see the full video? And I've always known that people like don't watch the full video before they write something goofy. But it's really annoying too, because like they're arguing about the thing that the other person would know if they actually. So like I've seen comments of people like didn't watch the whole thing, but like this part, that type of thing. Usually, if somebody put up a video that's really long and I like them, I put it on 2 times speed. That's my cheat. I'm not gonna pretend that I always just put up something really short, but so I'm not gonna get offended if someone does, because whatever. Like you watch you can watch a video in whatever way you would like to. You can watch it in fast mode, slow mode, normal, 7 to what was it, 720p. No, it doesn't bother me if people watch it a certain way. It is kind of funny that everybody was screaming for originality with regard to entertainment, but you know what I people just don't seem to get is that if you're a company and you have some IP that everybody likes, or at least everybody's familiar with, that's worked in the past, you're probably going to want to make something with that established IP rather than starting from scratch. Like I said, as much as I'm not interested in Avatar and going to see it, I can respect the premise that it was an attempt at making something different or original, um, that didn't have like some kind of pre-established lore or whatever, that was from like it was an attempt to make something new. I can acknowledge that. Um, but like I said, if you're a company and you're thinking as a business person, and you think that way if you want to stay indoors, you're probably going to go with something that works, or that you think has a higher chance of working than an unknown, wild card entity that has never been tested. Mm. Yeah, I was originally gonna stream in the outside again, but it's raining, and I just don't feel like going out there. I might go out there because my best friend said he was available to see. What One of the things I considered doing was not doing a stream until picking him up. I still don't fully know if he's actually going to be available. Like if I can just guarantee without a shadow of a doubt yeah, he's going to be there, and you know, because if I could, then I would delay the stream even further and go and get him, and then we could do it, in my car. Um, but outside of that, I'm just not really in a outside mood right now. I mean, it was raining cats and dogs because when I had the option of would you rather stream somewhere where nobody will interrupt, or would you rather stream somewhere where people can be heard in the background making noises and all? I would pick the former, but it's just raining so much, like just puddle after puddle after puddle, and I just got sick of it. It's no fun having to hold the umbrella up and hope that you don't get so entirely soaked. I just wasn't interested. So yeah, I would have done it in the car again, but I just didn't feel like it with as much rain as we had. Matter of fact, let me I'm gonna turn that light on. That make things a little bit better, a little bit clearer, a little bit more viewable. I hope so. Yeah, they gave me two shots, and I'm really not the biggest fan of needles. So the first one, I felt nothing at all. The second one has not been great, and my arms actually they gave me this thing to wrap it around right here, but it's been unpleasant. Like when I lift my arm, I can feel it, and it's um not exactly something I'm too jazzed about. So that was pretty much all that there was for this morning. Just going to the doctor and getting my physical. I just it's been a really hard last couple of weeks. I'll tell you that. Um, and I really I don't want every stream to turn into a thing where I just vent because there was another development yesterday that I thought was pretty insane. Um, but I guess for me it's hard to like discuss certain things. I guess if I'm in a workplace setting, I can compartmentalize a lot of stuff that bothers me, but it's harder to do that when there's like a constant reminder. Um, or if it's like part of some ongoing thing that just seems to keep escalating. And because I'm not like I'm not happy when that type of stuff happens, but it seems like when you're dealing with these people, they always can find a way to have a problem with you over something, which is why I didn't really feel that bad about what happened last Friday. As far as like I was of the belief that you could have done this and then they would have found something else to be upset over. I guess for me, it's just you get tired of like the back and forth and the conflict and stuff like that. But I'm gonna try to refrain from saying anything else about it. I'm just kind of like vaguely alluding to it here, during the rest of the stream. But it's hard to not get upset over that stuff. It's even harder to not mention it on here. It's funny. I went to sleep earlier. Well, I shouldn't say early. I think the appointment was at 12. I went to sleep at 2, so that's still like 8 hours, and I still feel tired. I think what it is that a lot of times I'll set like a time to get up, and then I'll get up before that, or I'll like wake up before that. So it's still It's like the goal is 8 hours, but it still actually isn't 8 hours. So the whole thing was just kind of a bust. That happens a lot where I remember when I was working for that last place I was with, a lot of mornings I would just sleep because I wanted, what I'm always afraid of is working somewhere and then I'm yawning and, I don't want to cause that to happen that much because it'll make you look like you don't want to be there and you're bored or whatever. When I get to the end of a shift, I'm more inclined to be okay with yawning, but that's really not even for the most part an intentional thing. That's because as the more you're up there, you gradually get more and more tired. I mean, this last place I had applied to, they were talking about 12-hour shifts from 6 in the morning to 6 at night, and I said to the recruiter, I was like, look, I don't have a problem with working, but I have a problem with overindulgence because they were trying to say to me, they're like, oh, you get these other days off, but I'm really serious when I say that for the sake of my health and stamina, it's really hard to imagine me just being somewhere past the regular 8 and not getting tired to the point of like wanting to sleep, wanting to lay down. I don't know. I just think 12-hour shifts are crazy. Seriously, like it's it reminds me of when I was in high school and they had what was called a block period where it's like you get one period for 2 hours instead of the usual one. And I remember when my teacher was talking, he said the idea behind it was that students will learn more if they have more time to be in the class with this particular topic. But as things currently stand, or as he saw them stood, he didn't really believe that that was actually happening. Like he noticed a lot of students would just kind of like zone out and get tired and look sleepy and just like out of it, right? So he would try to like do some kind of activity, like have everyone get up and say whatever that like some more stuff that was more engaging by virtue of it being different. Like you weren't just writing something anymore. You were also up and about and moving around and whatnot. I was like, that's a really thoughtful way to think about these things. Just the idea that you as an instructor do want your students to learn, but you know that you can't just keep them in that class with that one topic for too long, or there's going to be a because you look at, and I'm just speaking from my own experiences, like K through 8, you go through what, 5 6 different subjects every day, and you might get an hour of this, hour of that, but not two back to back of the same thing where you're all just sitting. So it was nice to hear an instructor talk about just why the concept sounded nice, but in execution, it really doesn't work. And I think anything's like that. That's why when I was saying, you know, a 12-hour shift might sound really cool, and the idea of only having to work 3 days a week or 4 days a week, whatever. Like it's cool. I guess that sounds nice, but if you don't have the stamina to be up there all day long, um, I mean, then there might be a problem. Like 9 to 5 exists for a reason. You get 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest, 8 hours do whatever other downtime stuff you want to do. There's just has to be a little bit of wiggle room, and when you cut into that and just say, okay, well, we'll give you another day, but we'll add 4 hours to these other 4 days. It doesn't work for me. Like I said, there are just some jobs I don't think are worth it. I don't know how that happened. These cords really do move to tech computers. Just lean back and relax for a second. I think the rain's letting up a little bit. I still was surprised I was even able to stream that one day where it was raining outside and I was in the car and I was like, oh man, the Wi-Fi is probably not going to, because it had one of the bars was down or something, and it still worked good. So, you know, I'm glad that happened. But yeah, I don't know. I always felt like teachers, because I think I said before when I went to college, I was a political science major and I wanted to teach just history and just stuff having to do with what's come before. And it was always interesting to just kind of watch how other instructors do, because some of them really are just people that they get their book. If it's not in there, oh well. I mentioned before I had this one teacher who I asked them a question relating to the subject. They told me to look it up my own time. So that was someone who just only knew what was in the book. But what's interesting is that you have these other instructors who go above and beyond and know things that aren't there, and can expand on it further when you have a conversation with them. And it's like that's the real difference between people who are passionate about a topic or a subject and those that are just there to okay guys, read this, da 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 da. That's it's just an interesting contrast in terms of like the way people act toward the material that they're given to work with. Teachers, they're such a underappreciated group. Again, I've never been a teacher, but I know things about them. And I remember I had this one instructor when I was in I think 12th grade, and she was like, I have to grade this many papers, and she had this whole giant notebook with like 50, 60, 70 versions of the same thing. God, it's a lot of busy work. So I said there's just too much there's a lot of stuff that just people don't talk about as much as they should. But it is interesting to just kind of watch some of this stuff and the way people act and the other types of ways that they do things. Because I remember I used to have some substitute teachers, especially a lot when I was in it was 11th grade, and you had some that were really fun. Like the kids were laughing with them and talking to them. Doing all the above and beyond stuff when it comes to just interactions between an instructor and their the students. And then you had ones that students hated. They didn't want to go anywhere near them. When they walked in the class and they saw that person was teaching, they rolled their eyes. They tried to mess with them. All kind of weird stuff. So it's a interesting assortment. I think what happens was that there were a lot of subs that, because I remember I had one class where there was a teacher that was just that had, I guess, injured themselves. That happened actually twice in that same school year, where you had the one that fell over and then another one that was having some kind of other health issues, and there were just subs every single day, just random characters popping up. Um, and I remember we had this one sub where he was telling the class to stop speaking, and they called the dean, and the dean was like telling people that they shouldn't. No, I got it wrong. He called the dean because there were students who were making some noises, like some sound effects, right? Like on their phone or whatever. And then the dean was like, "You shouldn't be talking, man. Somebody should have learned you back when you were in kindergarten." So it's just funny that even the people who are in charge don't even like know what the other one wants or have their stuff consistent with each other. Oh wow. Okay, let me get this. Hello? Are you up? Well, what time do you want me to come? Okay, so it's 3:21 right now. So 4:21, like around that time. All right, and you'll be at the thing you gave me, right? All right, and what kind of adventures would you like to go on? Well, I'll definitely, yeah, I'm completely fine with you dropping something off. I don't know about going back over there because it's you know well, right now it's raining pretty hard and some of the stuff I have are like books, so you can tell those two don't mesh well. But no, if you have any errands you have to run, I'll take you on them. All right, so oh yeah, of course I'm gonna get all liquored up. All right, so I'll see you in an hour. Okay, bye. Sorry, I was just filling my call. And no, before anybody asks, I do not actually drink. It was a joke. The only amount of liquor I've ever had was there was at some point, it's a couple of years ago. Um, there was like a glass of it, like some wine or something, and I stuck my tongue in it and I just started tasting it so nasty. So um I said before I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that stuff. And like I said, if people want to do it, it's their prerogative. Usually, the only time you'll see me get irritated by someone smoking is if it's like really up close to me, um, because I don't like the smell. But just the actual act of doing it doesn't bother me if others do. Okay, that gives me about another half hour. Yeah, because that drive's probably going to be like 20 some minutes. I gotta tell you, I'm kind of like I'm glad that like I made the stream about something that wasn't just all the drama, but I really wish that others had shown up. I mean, it is what it is. You do something impromptu. You don't know if people are going to appear. And like I said, I'm gonna do one most likely on Monday as well, so they'll be able to come over there too. But yeah, because I remember I mentioned that with the this one insane woman, she was like, "You've never been drunk before," and I laughed. Just thinking about how it goes back to this thing where people really believe that their experiences are everyone else's. So because she's this person who drinks, if she meets someone who's like younger or around the same whatever, and they've never done it, it's like she can't believe it. It's astonishing. And I've said multiple times, I'm well aware of the fact that people don't do what I do. Most people don't make videos. Most people, like I know that, but it's so crazy that in her mind, she believes every single person has been like so curious about drinking that for like me as this one individual, right, this one guy to have not done it just blew her mind. She couldn't believe it. Just like, what? No way. I'm like, are you serious? It's really sad because it tells you that we talked about this before, that people don't have empathy, that they think everyone is them, that kind of stuff. And you really would like you. I'm reminded more and more of that when I see the kind of reactions that they have to like lifestyle choices that are not their own. Like for example, I'm not a vegetarian, but if somebody else is, I mean, it's not going to shock me that there are people that don't eat meat. Some people don't like it. I'm just making sure that this thing didn't pick up any stuff. Yeah, usually I mute myself when I answer a call, but I didn't expect a call from him, so that took me by even more surprise. Yeah, I'm getting a little excited. I don't know. It's just nice to hang out with people, you know. 'Cause so often you're working and you're having to, you know, do perform this activity or go over here, or and even if you work a job where you get to drive, you have to go to specific places they want you to drive to and fulfill this objective. Like, there's really just no point to ever just kind of, unless you're on break, just relax. Like, okay, I can just unwind and chill out for a second. So it's nice to have someone to do that with, even if it's not as often as you would like. No, I'll try to finish that the script for that video. If not this week, then next week, because I do think it's an interesting concept to kind of just lay down the foundations of what kind of stuff you'd like out of your interactions with people. Um, because before, a lot of people sit here and they like that guy that wrote that thing earlier. They have this whole thing about finding a woman, but you really don't actually see people talking about what it's like, what they want out of it, what is appealing to them about it. Because that was a big central point for me. I was like, if you're going to sit here and completely cut out where there's any incentive for me to do this stuff, which they have repeatedly, then I why bother? So yeah, it'll be a very different take on that. Oh man. By the way, I still can't get over how you pronounce it, Bassett winning that award for uh, Wakanda Forever. Like, that's the first time an actor has won a major award for a Marvel movie. I mean, I'm glad she won it. It just kind of is a little lame that we had a lot of great performances before, you know, hers, and I wish that they had also been given the same accolade. I hope I think what I'm saying is making some sense. Like, I'm not against her winning it, and I'm glad she won it. I just wish that we could get out of this like weird thing where every superhero film kind of gets snubbed by Oscars and all these other major. I guess what drives me crazy is that it's so weird to see the place that makes this stuff have a subsection of critics who are like, this isn't real art. It's like, if it wasn't, then why do people watch it? I don't know. Critics are just a hard group to please. Mm. movie reviewers and all the rest of their kind. They're just not easy to impress or to make like your stuff. Oh, I don't know. It seems like it's becoming an increasingly obvious thing that there's just a really large segment of people that can never be satisfied, no matter what you do. Like a very very big group of them. I'm still thinking about that one. Like I remember with a lot of the movies, you'll have reviewers who put prediction videos like, if this doesn't happen in this movie, the series is ruined. I don't want another one, and the rest of that stuff. And then it'll actually happen, and it'll be like, well, this still was not good because of this other plot. But that's what I said. It just feels like they can never be satisfied. Someone never mentioned this, but one of the things when you want to make a story, you always have to know from before you even start there's going to be someone that doesn't like it or has a problem with it or whatever. You need to know that before you even write one line of dialogue. You already know that, which is a real shame because I feel like a lot of writers, really just people in general, have this thing about being disliked. Like they feel, and I get it to some extent. You don't like having someone tell you that you're this or that, but I don't know. Just yeah, you just have to have a thick skin with this stuff. Because I've said before that like if there's a show or a movie I don't like that people enjoy, that doesn't mean I have to watch it. If someone writes a bad review of something I made, doesn't mean I have to read it or watch their review. It's one of those things where critiques or criticism is allowed to exist, but you don't have to engage with it or listen to it. And one of my favorite other tactics that people have online is where they'll go on like a video about a movie and be like, I didn't even bother seeing this film. It's like, okay, well then why are you in the comment section of a review about this movie that you didn't see? Because when I was underage, there was this one comic reviewer, and he reviewed like not even just comics, but also just other like franchises, right? And I remember distinctively that with a lot of his reviews, I wouldn't even watch or read the thing that he was reviewing, but I just liked hearing him speak because I just thought the points he was making were interesting, and you know this was that and things of that nature. That's why I was very disappointed when he took down all his videos about a year or two ago, because it really was like an archive of just stuff that I had very much liked. I don't know, I feel like the end of an era because even though he hadn't been uploading in a long time, he still was someone I actively remembered and would go back to. But that's why I said it's interesting how like the people who make a lot of stuff don't even consider or acknowledge the value of it. Oh man. Under normal circumstances, I would be a little peeved at having to, because what I wanted to do was start at like one something, because I knew that would give me like at least a whole 2 hours before he was available. But um, because of how long it took to get back, it didn't, go down that way. But you know, I'm really not too bothered by that because no one that really matters is actually here anyway. So I'm not as upset over ending it sooner than usual. And like I said, I can just try again on Monday. Although I'll have to will myself to. Well, I won't even. I don't. Yeah, I will have to go up there because they'll be here because it's um, Martin Luther King Day. So I was just thinking it would be easier to do it on Monday than today, and it still arguably will be because it might not be raining, and then I definitely won't have to do something in the morning. But it still is not the best circumstance if you catch my drift. I don't know. I feel like a lot of stuff isn't the best circumstance, and I just kind of try to work my way around it. Because, like I said, the past couple of weeks have been really crazy, and I've been frustrated by just some of the job related stuff. But I'm still seeking it out and still going out there and making an effort. Um, so, but we'll see what happens, and I'm sure there will be another development either today or tomorrow relating to this saga. Because if there's one thing I know, it's that things do not get any easier with these people. They always conjure up something to be upset over. Yeah, we'll see how things turn out. So I'm probably I will obviously do another stream on Saturday, but I'll probably come back on Monday as well. So have a good rest of your Saturday and thanks for attending or watching.